Nürburgring, the Coliseum of the automotive world, a place where automakers come with one singular goal: set the record. If you win on Sunday, you sell on Monday. This is the mantra that entire brands have been built upon, but does that rule apply here? Do Nürburgring times really matter? And what is it about this track that pulls automakers from all corners of the world, each driven to leave their mark specifically here? Well, let's start with the fact that Nürburgring has been around for 97 years, and during that time it has hosted countless events, from the earliest Grand Prix to 24-hour endurance events and even truck racing. It is one of the most challenging circuits anywhere in the world, and has been used as a testing ground by manufacturers to test their pre-production cars. This has made it the epicenter of a type of Nürburgring lap record mania, where the bragging rights for achieving the ultimate lap time seem to overshadow any other automotive criteria. The plan to create a racing circuit beyond comparison was announced at a 1925 groundbreaking ceremony in a forested area in the Eifel Mountains. It was to be the longest, most challenging track ever built, and 2 years later, the Nürburgring was officially opened.
On the 18th of June 1927, the Nürburgring was opened. This chaotic archive film gives some idea of the racing circuit, built as a community project to ease unemployment during the German slump.
Caracciola won the first race at the ring, and the venue soon became a highlight of the Grand Prix racing. The first Formula One race was held at the track in 1951. It was won by Alberto Ascari in a Ferrari. Endurance events started in 1953 with the 1,000-kilometer World Sports Car Championship event. Since those early days, the Nürburgring has hosted hundreds of unforgettable races. Nürburgring, often called the Green Hell, the nickname was famously given by legendary Formula One driver Jackie Stewart in the 1960s, thanks to the track's relentless rain, fog, and challenging conditions that became its trademark. By the late 60s, the Nürburgring's ferocious reputation had crossed from admiration to trepidation. Drivers and teams alike began voicing concerns about the track's brutal design, long stretches without barriers, narrow lanes, blind corners, and the relentless changes in elevation. Safety improvements were made, barriers went up, emergency lanes were added, yet the changes barely scratched the surface of what was needed. But it wasn't until 1976 that the true breaking point came. That year, during the German Grand Prix, Niki Lauda's Ferrari spiraled out of control at over 130 miles per hour, struck the barriers, and erupted into flames. Other drivers rushed to pull Lauda from the wreckage, but his injuries were life-threatening. A chilling reminder of the risk drivers face at the ring. Lauda's accident became the final argument for those calling for safety, leading Formula One to abandon the Nürburgring North Loop, marking the end of an era on one of motorsport's most dangerous battlegrounds. Even though Formula One left the Green Hell, the track remained a popular racing venue for other motorsport events, and the 24-hour endurance racing was introduced in 1970. Major changes were carried out on the original track in 1981, which was shortened to its current length as the South Loop was no longer part of it. A completely new and separate racetrack was also built. This new track was completed in 1984, signaling the return of Formula One to the Nürburgring, albeit at this much shorter and safer track designed to accommodate modern race cars. The original Nordschleife continued to host other racing events, including the famous Nürburgring 24 Hours. It is also open to the public on certain weekdays and is a popular testing venue for auto manufacturers. Drag racing and acceleration tests have their place, but nothing tests a vehicle's dynamic abilities like a racetrack. Some tracks suit fast cars. Others have tight corners that benefit compact sports cars. Most have around 15 corners and are about 3 miles long. The Nürburgring has over 150 corners and is up to 25.4 kilometers long, depending on the configuration. It has long straights, off-chamber bends, sharp corners, and everything in between. Factor in the varying road surfaces along the route and the unpredictable weather, and you have a perfect testing ground. When it comes to production spec road cars, it's not the lap times that manufacturers are after. They use the Nürburgring to test their vehicles' cornering, braking, acceleration, and handling in varying conditions. You may never push your Mercedes C-Class as hard as a test driver, but it will have that extra layer of dynamic ability if you ever need it. There is no doubt that pre-production testing at the Nürburgring is a net positive for new car development, but it unravels when manufacturers start developing cars for the Nürburgring instead. This results in a vain chase for an ultimate lap time that means little outside of press release. Pushing the limits of design can be a good thing, but not if it results in a car that is wholly unsuited to driving anywhere but on a racetrack. Some supercars have special track packs and limited edition upgrades that give them an extra tenth of a second around a track, but most mass production road cars won't see a racing circuit or even be pushed hard on the way to the shops. So an overly stiff suspension or peaky power delivery in most cases makes the driving experience worse, not better. Take the BMW M5 CS for instance. BMW refers to it as a track-oriented version of the regular M5. So, what does BMW do to make it track ready? They strip out some noise insulation, stiffen the suspension, and, the most ridiculous one, remove the center console's storage compartment. Then they throw in carbon fiber seats, a carbon roof, and a carbon hood to shave off about 100 kilograms. All of that might sound reasonable until you look at the price. The M5 CS costs almost 50% more than the regular M5. That's a 50% premium for a car that rides harsher, is louder, and less comfortable. What a joke. And before y'all BMW fanboys flood the comment section telling me I'm an idiot, let me clarify. I'm a BMW fan myself. The M5 CS is a stunning car with incredible performance, but it simply doesn't justify its price. The regular M5 is a fantastic car, but for the price of the CS, there are much better options. If you're buying it as a high-performance collector's car and plan to keep it as a garage queen, then sure, it might make sense in the long run. But isn't the whole point of a family car to be practical? Isn't that the point of a car in general? These track-focused packages and their associated lap times are nothing more than marketing strategies designed to appeal to wealthy buyers who don't know any better. I'm not saying all M5 CS owners are dummies, but the concept itself just doesn't make sense to me. The Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT falls into the same category. While the modifications on the Cayenne are slightly different, it follows the same formula, a family SUV designed for the track. On the other end of the spectrum, there's another car that deserves a mention in this video. The Mercedes-AMG 1. This machine is an absolute beast on the track and currently holds the top spot on the leaderboard for production cars. Of course, it isn't exactly a mass production vehicle, but it is road legal and can be yours if you have a few $1,000,000 stashed in your piggy bank. But here's the problem. Debuting nearly 6 years ago, the Mercedes-AMG 1 has been a problem child for the Mercedes. The automaker wanted to deliver customer cars in 2019, but it turns out adapting a modern Formula 1 engine for road use is more complicated than it once seemed, and the project has suffered numerous delays. Mercedes-AMG finally has road-registered cars for testing, but the problems haven't stopped yet. Finds out that 1.6-liter V6 has to be rebuilt once every 50,000 kilometers. But there's more to it than that, since the AMG 1's startup procedure must be obeyed to the letter. Nico Rosberg made the mistake of shutting off the car prematurely before the engine reached its optimal temperature. Had he done this 6 times in a row, Mercedes would have braked the car, preventing him from using it again. Then what? A 1 owner would have to ring up Mercedes and ask someone from AMG to come with a laptop and unfreeze the car. It takes 5 to 8 minutes for the combustion engine to reach its optimal temperature if the car is stationary. Driving it around lowers the wait time to 2 to 5 minutes. It's worth noting the hypercar always starts in fully electric mode. The internal combustion engine doesn't kick in until the catalytic converter reaches 932 Fahrenheit, a process that takes anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. Once the combustion engine comes alive, the car gets really loud. So much so that Mercedes-AMG delivers the hypercar with noise-canceling headphones because some might find the 120 decibels overwhelming. It was even louder during the development process, but the engineers eventually managed to make it slightly more civilized. The only positive side about that is there's no fake engine sound being pumped through the speakers. It's all mechanical. But the list of problems goes on. The Mercedes-AMG 1 also has a reputation for spontaneously catching fire. In fact, one unit even went up in flames while being transported in a closed trailer. The Mercedes spokesperson confirmed they're aware of the incident, assuring that no one was injured and that the company is investigating the cause. Although the car was largely destroyed, initial findings suggest that a distinctive inboard suspension may have contributed to the fire. Don't get me wrong, testing pre-production cars on real-world roads to uncover dynamic flaws makes sense, but when the road itself becomes a focus of development, things can go sideways. I genuinely appreciate the effort engineers put into creating the AMG 1 over all those years. It's an impressive experiment, no doubt. Honestly, the fact that they managed to squeeze out those incredible performance numbers while keeping the car running for 50,000 kilometers is impressive, especially considering it's based on a Formula 1 engine originally designed to last only about 1,500 miles, with a full-time crew maintaining it. But here's my point, these types of projects are overly complicated and inherently unreliable. Even Mercedes admitted that the AMG 1 was kind of a drunk decision and vowed never to pursue such projects in the near future. Meanwhile, Porsche has proven it's possible to set insane lap records without relying on such complex technology, all while keeping their cars relatively reliable. It's cheaper, more practical, and it attracts a far larger customer base. Developing race cars on a track is logical. They're designed for one purpose, achieving faster lap times. However, when that singular focus is applied to a road car, the result is a compromised product. After all, who wants a hard-riding SUV that is useless on the school run but can beat supercars around a racetrack? Anyway, that's all I have on this topic. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.